Hello everyone. In today's Cretaceous profile we're going to be doing is Gorgosaurus, a genus of tyrannosaurid theropod that lived in western North America during the late Cretaceous period and the Campanian age between about 76.6 to 75.1 million years ago. The fossil remains have been found in the Canadian province of Alberta and the U.S. state of Montana. Paleontologists recognize only the type species Gorgosaurus labratus, although other species may have been errorless referred to the genus. This animal was first described by Lawrence Lambie in 1914. The holotype of Gorgosaurus, NMC 2120, is a nearly complete skeleton associated with a skull discovered in 1913 by Charles M. Sternberg. This specimen was the first tyrannosaurid found with a complete hand. It was found in the Dinosaur Park Formation of Alberta and is housed in the Canadian Museum of Nature in Ottawa. Prospectors from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City were active along the Red Deer River in Alberta at the same time, collecting hundreds of spectacular dinosaur remains, including 4 complete Gorgosaurus skulls, 3 of which were associated with skeletons. Matthew and Brown described 4 of these specimens in 1923. Matthew and Brown also described a 5th skeleton, AMNH 5664, which Charles H. Sternberg had collected in 1917 and sold to their museum. It was smaller than other Gorgosaurus specimens, with a lower, lighter skull and more elongated limb proportions, meaning structure between the bones were unfused. And this specimen as well, Matthew and Brown noted that these features were characteristics of juvenile tyrannosaurids, but still describe it as the holotype of a new species, Gorgosaurus sternbergii. Today's paleontologists regarded this specimen as a juvenile Gorgosaurus labratus. Dozens of other specimens have been excavated from the Dinosaur Park Formation and are housed in a museum across the United States and Canada. Gorgosaurus is the best represented tyrannosaurid in the fossil record known from a virtually complete growth series. In 1856, Joseph Lyde described 2 tyrannosaurids, premaxillary teeth, from Montana, although there are no indications of what the animal looked like. The teeth were large and robust, and Joseph gave them the name Dinodon. Matthew and Brown commented in 1922 that these teeth were distinguishable from those of Gorgosaurus, but in the absence of skeletal remains of Dinodon. But Dinodon is now synonymized. Although Dinodon teeth are very similar to those of Gorgosaurus, tyrannosaurid teeth are extremely uniform, so it cannot be said for certain which animal they belong to. Dinodon is usually regarded as a dubious today. An additional likely synonym of Gorgosaurus or Dinodon include Laelaps. Several Tyrannosaurid skeletons from the Tumetsu Formation and Judith River Formation of Montana probably belong to Gorgosaurus, although it remains uncertain whether they belong to Gorgosaurus or a new species. One specimen from Montana, TCMI 2001.89.1, housed in the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, shows evidence of severe pathologies, including healed leg, rib, and vertebral fractures, and an infection at the tip of the lower jaw, resulting in permanent tooth loss and possibly a brain tumor. And here's a size comparison to a human with a juvenile and a full-grown adult. Gorgosaurus was smaller than Tyrannosaurus or Torbosaurus, in close size to Albertosaurus. Adults reached 8 to 9 meters, 26 to 30 feet long, 30 feet inches in length, from snout to tail, and its weight 2 to 3 metric tons in body mass. The largest known skull was measured 99 centimeters, 39 inches long, just slightly smaller than that of Daspletosaurus. As in other tyrannosaurids, the skull was large compared to its body size, although chambers within the skull bones and large openings, fenestrae between the bones, reduced its weight. Albertosaurus and Gorgosaurus shared proportionally longer and lower skulls than Daspletosaurus and other tyrannosaurids. The end of the snout was blunt, and the nasal and partial bones were fused along the midline of the skull. As in all other members of the family, the eye's socket was circular rather than oval or keyhole shaped, as in other Tyrannosaurid genera. A tall crest rose from the latissical bone in front of each eye, similar to Albertosaurus and Daspletosaurus. Differences in the shape of bones surrounding the brain set Gorgosaurus apart from Albertosaurus. And for its classification, Gorgosaurus is classified in the theropod subfamily Albertosaurine within the family Tyrannosauridae. It is most closely related to the slightly younger Albertosaurus. These are the only two defined Albertosaurine genera that have been described, although other undescribed species may exist. Like Appalachiosaurus was described as a basal tyrannosauroid just outside of Tyrannosauridae. Although American paleontologist Thomas Holtz published a phylogenetic analysis in 2004, which indicated it was an Albertosaurine. More recent unpublished work by Holtz agrees the original assignment. All other Tyrannosaurid genera, including Daspletosaurus, Torbosaurus, and T. rex, are classified in a subfamily Tyrannosaurine. Compared to the Tyrannosaurines, Albertosaurines had slender builds with proportionally smaller lower skulls and longer bones of the lower leg, tibia, and the foot, metatarsals, and phalanstrae. The close similarities between Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus may lead many experts to combine them into one genus over the years. Albertosaurus was named first. Some by convention, it is given priority over the name Gorgosaurus, which is sometimes considered its junior synonym. William Diller Matthew and Buriam Brown doubted the direction of the two genera as early as 1922. Gorgosaurus was formally reassigned to Albertosaurus by Dale Russell in 1970, and many subsequent authors followed his lead. Combining the two greatly expands the geographical and chronological range of the genus Albertosaurus. Other experts maintained the two genera as separate. Canadian paleontologist Phil Currie claims there are as many anatomical differences between Albertosaurus and Gorgosaurus as there are between Daspletosaurus and Tyrannosaurus, which are almost always kept separate. He also noted that undescribed Tyrannosaurids discovered in Alaska and New Mexico and elsewhere in North America may help clarify the situation. Gregory S. Paul has suggested that Gorgosaurus is ancestral to Albertosaurus in its paleobiology. Just like other Tyrannosaurids, the bite force of Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus increases slowly among young individuals, and then it increased exponentially when they reached the late juvenile stage in 2012. It is estimated that Gorgosaurus could exert a bite force of at 22,000, possibly up to 42,000 newtons. Other paleontologists have produced significantly lower bite force estimate in 2021, given the largest known. Gorgosaurus had a similar bite force to the similar sized Tyrannosaurus. Therain and colleagues proposed the maximum bite force that could be produced by adult Albertosaurines is around 12,200 to 21,800 newtons. In 2022, Sakamoto estimated that Gorgosaurus had an interior bite force of 6,418 newtons and the posterior bite force of 13,817 newtons. In 2023, a juvenile Gorgosaurus TMP 2009.12.14 with its in situ stomach contents containing two centipes juveniles, about a year old, intact, was reported from the Dinosaur Park Formation. This juvenile would have been 5 to 7 years old at the time of death, measuring about 4 meters, 13 feet long, and weighing around 335 kilograms, 739 pounds. It is much larger than the two centipes juveniles that weighed about 9 to 12 kilograms, 20 to 26 pounds. Contrary to the assumption that tyrannosaurids fed on prey of their size, once they reached 16 to 32 kilograms, 35 to 71 pounds, indicating that juvenile tyrannosaurids still consumed much smaller prey. After exceeding a certain size, thus the discovery of this specimen indicated that tyrannosaurids probably did not hunt in multi-generational packs, since its prey size is too small to share with conspecifics. It is also direct dietary evidence that reinforces the theory of ontogenic dietary shift for tyrannosaurids, as previously inferred by ecological modeling and anatomical features among different age groups. Only the remains of hind limbs and cardovertebrae of juvenile centipes were present in the tyrannosaurid's stomach cavity, suggesting that a juvenile Gorgosaurus may have had preferential consumption of the muscular hind limbs. Thomas R. Holtz Jr., a paleontologist who also previously theorized that tyrannosaurs underwent a big dietary shift with maturation, that said that the fossils looks like it was Thanksgiving, as the juvenile Gorgosaurus was mostly eating the legs of centipeds, meaning they did not eat the head or even the arms or even the tail of centipeds, because they preferred the legs. The discovery of two exponentially preserved juvenile skulls from Gorgosaurus suggested that Gorgosaurus underwent the morphological shift from gracile juveniles to robust adults at an earlier age than Tyrannosaurus, to which it was compared to in a study published by Jard, suggests that the ontogenic changes occurred at roughly 5 to 7 years of age in Gorgosaurus, much earlier than its larger and later relative. However, both Tyrannosaur genera underwent these ontogenic transformations at a similar percent of skull length relative to the large known adult individual. The study's results likewise indicate that there is a dissociation between body size and cranial development in tyrannosaurs, while simultaneously allowing better identification of juvenile remains that may have been misidentified in a museum fossil collection. It is estimated that the ontogenic dietary shift of Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus occurs when the mandibular length reaches 58 centimeters, 1.90 feet, indicating that this is the stage when their bite force increases exponentially and when they begin to pursue large prey. And for its paleo environment, most specimens of Gorgosaurus have been recovered from the Dinosaur Park Formation in Alberta. This formation dates to the middle of the Campanian, between 76.5 to and 74.8 million years ago, and Gorgosaurus fossils also are known specifically from the lower to middle section of the formation. Between 76.6 and 75.1 million years ago, the Tumetsu Formation and Judith River Formation of Montana have also yielded possible Gorgosaurus remains. At this time, the area was a coastal plain along the western edge of the Western Interior Seaway, which divided North America in half. The Lamidia orogeny had begun uplifting the Rock Mountains to the west, from which flowed great rivers that deposited eroded sediment in vast floodplains along the coast. The climate was subtropical with marked seasonary and periodic droughts, sometimes resulted in massive mortality among the great herds of dinosaurs, as represented in the numerous bone bed deposits preserved in Dinosaur Park Formation. Conifers formed the forest canopy, while the understory plants consisted of ferns, tree ferns, and angiosperms. Around 73 million years ago, the seaway began to expand, transgressing into areas formerly above sea level and drowning the Dinosaur Park ecosystem. This transgression, called the Bear Paw Sea, is recorded by the marine sediments of the massive Bear Paw Shell. The Dinosaur Park Formation preserves a great wealth of vertebrate fossils of a wide variety of fish swarm the rivers and estuaries, including gars, sturgeons, sharks, and rays, among others. Frogs, salamanders, turtles, crocodilians, and chasmosaurs also dwelled in the aquatic habitats, as dark pterosaurs and ornithorhynid birds. Ethioid birds lived on the ground alongside multituberculids, monotrines, and earthorhynid mammals. A member of the species of terrestrial lizards were also present, including whiptails, skinks, monitors, and alligator lizards. Dinosaur fossils in particular, are found in unraveled abundance and diversity. Huge herds of ceratopsids roam the floodplains alongside equally large groups of sauropelans and lambeosaurine hadrosaurs. Other herbivorous groups like ornithomimids, therizinosaurs, pachycephalosaurs, small ornithopods. Nodosaurids and ankylosaurids were also represented. Small predatory dinosaurs like oviraptorosaurs, troodonts, and dromaeosaurs hunted smaller prey. Then the huge tyrannosaurids, Daspletosaurus and Gorgosaurus, which were two orders of megatude larger in mass. Intervening predatory niches may have been filled by younger tyrannosaurids. Acerulestes dentry has been discovered in the Dinosaur Park Formation that bore tooth marks left by the bite of a young tyrannosaurid. Possible Gorgosaurus. In the middle stages of the Dinosaur Park Formation, Gorgosaurus lived alongside a rarer species of tyrannosaurid, Daspletosaurus. This is one of the few examples of two tyrannosaur genera coexisting. Similar-sized predators in modern predators guilds are separate into different ecological niches by anatomical, behavioral, and/or geographical differences that limited competition. Niche differentiation between the Dinosaur Park Formation tyrannosaurids is not well understood. In the year 1970, Dale Russell hypothesized that the more common Gorgosaurus actively hunted flea-footed hadrosaurs, while the rarer and more troublesome ceratopsians and ankylosaurines were left the more heavily built Daspletosaurus. However, a specimen of Daspletosaurus OTM 200 from the contemporaneous Tumetsu Formation of Montana preserves the digested remains of a juvenile hadrosaur in its gut region. And another bone bed contains the remains of 3 Daspletosaurus, along with the remains of at least 5 hadrosaurs. Unlike some other groups of dinosaurs, neither genus was more common at higher or lower elevation than the other. However, Gorgosaurus appears more common in the northern formations, like Dinosaur Park, with the species of Daspletosaurus being more abundant to the south. The same pattern is seen in other groups of dinosaurs like Chasmosaurines and Sauropelans are also more common in the Tumetsu Formation of Montana and in southwestern North America during the Campanian, while Centrosaurines and Lambeosaurines dominated in northern latitudes. Holtz has suggested that this pattern indicates shared ecological preferences between Tyrannosaurines, Chasmosaurines, and Sauropelans at the end of the later Maastrichtian stage. Tyrannosaurines like T-Rex, Sauropelans like Edmontosaurus and Cretaceous, and Chasmosaurines like Triceratops and Torosaurus were widespread throughout western North America, while Lambeosaurines were rare, consisting of a few species like Hypacrosaurus and Albertosaurines and Centrosaurines, which they had gone extinct. However, in the case of Centrosaurines, They have had thrived in Asia with genera like Sinoceratops, while Albertosaurines remains have been found in the Hell Creek Formation. It is most likely these are indeterminate remains belonging to the species Tyrannosaurus. And unfortunately, the Albertosaurines are now extinct, with Albertosaurus being the last of the Albertosaurine genus. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and see you later, guys.